Today, we're looking at a blue ink by Sailor Souten. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help me out for you to check out this entire video. As always, there's a link to a playlist down in the description, so if you want to look at other blue inks, you can do that. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. Let's get into 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, some nice shading going on. Look at how quick it goes, lighter to darker. The is very dark compared to the word over. 10 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, decent shading. Brown starts dark and gets light. Quick goes dark to light to dark. 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show good color variation, and we get it, and the smear test shows you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Sailor, my first pen with a medium fine, was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The second writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. A couple spots of shading, like the K in quick is darker, the is much darker than, in general, the word quick. 17 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 23 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we're not getting it. In the smear test, you probably could not recover this if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and it's immediately put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see that this light blue really pushes its way up and gets much darker at the top. But this is a true blue. The one on the right is allowed to dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water, and we see much of that ink staying in the line on the bottom, while a lot of it still does move up, but it makes you feel that there may be some resistance to this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, decent shading as quick goes darker to lighter to darker, and brown goes dark to light. Over goes light to dark, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the medium shows no color variation. We didn't get it. The extra fine shows, and we did get. And the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it really has a lot of blowout and doesn't make me feel safe using it in a note-taking situation. Now, water is reactivating and lifting much of this ink, not all of it, but I really expected some to stay around. Pen Flush does everything that water does and nothing more, and the 1/3 bleach solution is really breaking it up, but interestingly, turned it kind of green. Now, it really did only take water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on G Lalo paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a lot lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 7 seconds to dry. Medium's darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no real color variation, and it just got eaten up by the gray paper here. But the smear test, there's a chance you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity is 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Sailor's Souten has a viscosity of 1.18, making this a wet ink. If you're interested in how the viscosity is tested or how that bell curve's made, then there's a link to that video down in the description. Now, let's take a look at original Crown Mill, a nice laid paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shading, 6 seconds to dry. Medium is just as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show a little bit of color variation left to right, though it's not coming through in the writing. And the smear test, I do not think you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time is 17 seconds, and the realm of normal is 13 to 21 seconds. Sailor's Souten has an average dry time of 16 seconds, making it normal. The last writing sample is done on limon paper. Now, this paper is not typically known for its fountain pen friendliness, and there is quite a bit of bleeding deep into the page, but not through the page, not touching the page underneath, and probably not stopping the use of the back of the page. But these are all the spots where it is coming through quite deep. The 1.1 has feathering. Tiny feathering the whole way through. It does spread. It has no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub. It has no feathering, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 6 seconds to dry. It did really well here. Yeah, and only a couple spots through there. The medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Actually did very well. 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get any. In the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Sailor's Souten, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Blue being very classic, I decided to go with another classic black, Kaweco's Pearl Black. If you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of Sailor's Souten? This is a nice, vibrant blue. There is a peppering of shading, but nothing really stand out. That is a problem with this ink. At its price, it needs to be stand out. There are just too many great blues that are much more affordable. That said, this is a very good ink, and I did enjoy using it. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? Now, despite my normal preferences towards shading, I think this looks best out of a very wet, extra fine to get the darkest, most vibrant blue from this. I hope you got something out of this video, and tomorrow we're going to take a look at Mont Blanc's Iron Gall Midnight Blue.